Welcome, everyone, to another edition of Deconversion Stories. And today it's a little bit special because this is technically the start of my fourth year doing this show. So today, although many Canadians, and myself is included in that, today is usually a day of celebration because it's Canada Day. But of course, with the findings of the unmarked graves in multiple different residential schools here in Canada, we've kind of downplayed Canada Day this year to honor the Indigenous peoples of the land that we have occupied, in other words. I've myself, anyways, personally have been listening to a lot of the stories of the Indigenous peoples, a lot of the survivors of the basically kidnapping of the kids and putting them in residential schools. And there's some fascinating things and very interesting and very heartbreaking stories that I've heard. But we'll probably talk a little bit about that towards the end of this. But just so you guys know, that's why today we are sort of celebrating the Indigenous peoples of Canada instead of Canada in and of itself. Anyways, today my guest is also Canadian. So I thought it would be very fitting to have Katherine Roberts here on the show. Now, Katherine, what I do here, as you know, is I talk to people about their journeys away from their belief systems. And you were once a preacher. So why don't you kind of take us on that journey of how you sort of found your way out of the belief system?
That's it's quite an in-depth story. I actually became a Christian in 1996. So, okay. I was a 28-year-old single mother of 3 kids and really depressed. And someone told me that Jesus loved me, and off to church I went. And so it's so strange how quickly you can get involved, and kind of I jumped in with both feet anyway. And don't
we tend to do that though when something kind of gets us excited and whatnot? We tend to jump in full blown.
Yeah, for sure. I think for me is getting involved in church at the very beginning was really helped my depression. I lifted out of my depression that I was going through at the time, because I went from like a lonely, sad, depressed single mother to someone who was, involved in all of these different prayer meetings and groups and women's ministries. And, there's a dozen things to get involved in church. And I had an instant social circle and lots of friends, and my life was genuinely changed, and so I saw that over the years as evidence that it was all real. And I it's so freaking weird. I don't know how I got to be, to fast forward 24 years before I actually examined a lot of my beliefs. Excuse me. Indoctrination runs really deep, doesn't it?
It does indeed.
Yeah. You have a church background too, right?
No, I was raised Jewish, so I have a synagogue background.
Oh, okay. Right. Yeah.
However, I was born to Christians and put up for adoption, so I ended up being raised Jewish.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I went to a Pentecostal church right from the beginning. And so up until then, I had never gone into a church. I think I went to 2 funerals. And then when I was in high school, and then my own wedding. And then it was when I became a Christian. And so I had no idea that, what was expected or what was strange, or it was, all of these Pentecostal type things were so, familiar to me right from the very beginning. It's kind of strange to think back now, because I've seen a lot of very interesting things, Neil. I've seen some strange stuff, but is when I think back to it now, it's like, it's a little bit, well, it's more than a little bit. It's a lot embarrassing. Um, I feel like I wasted a whole lot of time. I mean, 20 something years, 24
Right.
years from 1996 right up until 2017, I guess, when we actually retired. We sold a business, my husband and I, and retired, and we had time to think. That's the only way that I can explain it. Like, we just had time to think and mull things over, and we took, we would have hours long conversations about the Bible and the gospel and what we believed and how things fit in, and eventually it just didn't make sense anymore. Does that make sense? Like, we just started looking at um, different things in the Bible. I feel like I've told this story 100 times now, but one of the major things that we looked at first was the whole topic of homosexuality,
Hmm.
when our youngest came out. And up until then, I kind of had my, doctrine and a neat little package of what homosexuality was. And all of a sudden it really hit home, and I stopped to look at it, and the whole morality of it, of God really not liking gays, and
All right.
the
Right.
penalty of being stoned to death. And so that was probably the first thing that started me to question, like, seriously question. I think before that, like, I've always had a problem with hell. That hardly ever made sense to me. I don't know how
Hmm.
somebody can reconcile a loving God with eternal punishment,
Right.
for something that you do for such a short time on earth, and then you have to suffer for all of eternity
Right.
because you didn't
I-
make the right decision. It never
Infinite
sat well with
punishment.
me.
Infinite punishment for a finite crime.
Yeah.
That's not just. So
No, no, it's not, and it's not moral. And
no, it's
so
not.
when I started thinking, I've gotten a lot of flack for this, Neil, but I'm going to say it. When I started looking, and I started thinking, how could I be more moral than the God of the Bible? But when I looked at the morality of it, I just couldn't jive it with what was actually happening in real life. I still loved my son, who happened to be gay, and
Hmm.
and it's just so strange to think, oh, this Jesus that I love, this Heavenly Father that I have followed for a decade or more, doesn't love my, well, I mean, I guess he loves gay people, but he'll send them to hell. And I just couldn't get, that was, I guess, the one thing that really got us thinking. And so I guess it was like several years of what you would call deconstruction.
Okay.
I deconstructed a lot of these toxic beliefs, like hell, even heaven. I don't, how I ever had an idea of what heaven is. I have no idea, because it's so, they talk about mansions, and when you start thinking about it, I'd go to funerals and I'd hear preachers say that, this person died because God needed a gardener in
Yeah.
heaven or whatever. It just seems so, those things just sounded like fairy tales to
Of
me.
course. Of course.
Yeah.
How does
Yeah.
a
And then
how does a mansion stay up in a cloud? That's what I want to know.
yeah. 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 And why, yeah, there's lots of things like that. Why are the streets paved with gold? That will we care if it's gold in heaven? It makes no sense.
No, of course, and all that gold could end world hunger,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. 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 That's right. So it was, that deconstruction part wasn't that difficult, but eventually I got to a point where I just believed that God existed, because obviously we were here. There's a universe, so there has to be a God if there's a universe. Um, and so I was content with that for probably a year or two.
So was that a more of a deistic approach, do you figure, rather than you
Probably,
just kind of get rid of all the dogma and
exactly.
okay.
But it wasn't, I didn't even know what a deist was, to be honest with you. I just realized that the more I studied the Bible, the less I could justify what it said. And so, but up, at that point, I still really believed that I had years of experience of God's presence, and I believe that I experienced miracles and answers to prayer. I had what I considered to be a supernatural life for 20 something years. And so it took a long time for me to actually look at that God belief rather than, the doctrine or the biblical standpoints on things. Right.
Right.
So yeah, for a year or two, I was just content with, I know God's out there, but I didn't know how to reach him. It felt like there was no way that we could actually know about God. So I was content with that, and then I had this conversation with someone about how this possible that this universe could be here without a creator. And I was 48 years old, Neil. And it's like, what do you mean? Like, I just always believed that because, we were creation. And so there had to be a creator. And the moment my mind opened up to this possibility, it all made sense. It all made sense that there's probably not a God. And I went on a huge mission to look and see.
I was going to ask,
what is the evidence?
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Where did you go? How did you find the evidence that led you to ultimately to the new conclusion?
Yeah. It was really hard at first because when it was almost like this realization dawned on me that, wow, I've been hoodwinked for 24 years. But it wasn't just like I could get up the next morning and shake it off and say, oh, okay, well, I missed that.
It rarely happens that way. Rarely.
No.
Well, by the way, I get enough beers in me and I become that squirrel from Hoodwinked.
Is that what you're drinking? I'm just drinking water. But look, can you see my mug? This is St. Catherine the Scandalous. Wait a second. You see the nun? Okay.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to say about that. But no, listen, no, it's not all I'm going to say about that. I have to tell you about this mug. I was on a podcast a couple of weeks ago, and lo and behold, some people don't like atheists, Neil.
What?
So, yeah, it's true. And so some wonderful gentleman on the internet took the time out of his day to tell me that it was scandalous that I had the name Katherine after such a beloved saint, and I should change my name to Katherine to cow bullshit is what he said. Cow bullshit. So I answered him and I signed my message, St. Catherine the Scandalous, because you know what? Fuck that.
This little question here is for you. Did you feel hypocritical when worshiping? Whoops.
No.
See, that went away. Did you feel hypocritical when worshiping an effigy of Jesus, even though God forbade worshiping effigies in the Bible?
No. Now see the time frame. Some people, it's kind of hard to get it all of my story in at once, of course, because it is over 2 decades.
Sure.
But when I was a minister and when I was in church, I 100% believed everything I preached. I never felt, I was fully convinced for all of those years. So I know that there are some pastors who deconstruct while they're still in the ministry. I'm a part of the Clergy Project. So, I know that there's thousands out there.
Yep.
For me, luckily, I had already left. I resigned my position from the church because I was really busy with the business that we ended up eventually selling. So while I was in the ministry, I really believed it. So I don't feel like I, felt like hypocritical or anything. And so when I, the whole God belief, the doctrinal part took years, but the actual God belief part was like a house of cards. Once all of my beliefs were kind of put aside, that last part just felt like a house of cards, and I was devastated. I didn't know how to live. I had spent 24 years being fully immersed in, I don't want to say church, because I didn't even consider myself to be religious. I considered myself to be spiritual. When I look back now, it's absolutely ridiculous, because I was one of the most religious people, that I know. So, what was I saying about that, Neil?
Well.
Oh, so I had to learn. I had to learn how to live like an adult. And that is a very strange thing to feel when you're, 50 years old. But everything that I did was centered around Jesus and my relationship that I believed that I had with God. And so, I've sold all of my stuff and moved, because I have felt that I heard from the Lord. We moved one time because we were praying about moving to another province. And the newspaper, one day when I got the newspaper, had the province listed in there, like a little ad, and I took it as a sign from God. So we packed up 3 kids and moved to another province. So I really believed it. It was almost like in my DNA. Everything that I spoke was centered around that. I was part of the positive confession movement. Are you familiar? We only spoke positive things. And it's true. There was like a huge pressure to not say anything negative, because saying things negative was agreeing with the devil.
Right.
Yeah. So, it was kind of a strange, well, not kind of strange, it was a very difficult time. And I went to YouTube. Of course, where do you go? Where do you go when you need to know something?
Yeah, I wouldn't exactly rely on YouTube as a source, but
No. Actually, first I started Googling, and because I didn't know one person who wasn't a Christian. Nobody. I didn't know anybody. Certainly didn't know an atheist. And at that point, I don't know if I would have said the word atheist, because I didn't really know what an atheist was. I just knew all of a sudden I was no longer convinced that this God that I had believed in for 24 years actually existed. I didn't believe it was any more than a myth. That's, it was just gone. I didn't try it. I didn't try to lose it. It just happened as a matter of reasoning, if that makes sense. And I think the first place I found was Recovery from Religion.
Okay.
And I was just so grateful for that organization, and the Clergy Project. And then I went to YouTube and found Seth Andrews, and I gotta give a little shout out, because I love Seth Andrews. Okay.
He's a pretty cool guy. He's a pretty coul guy.
I really, because it's his video that I watched was, I think it was Christianity Made Me Talk Like an Idiot, something like that.
Yep.
And I don't know, but it practically changed my life. Like, all of a sudden, I know what it was. I realized at that moment that I was not alone. I was not the only person who was feeling this lost and this disillusioned. And so, yeah, it was really helpful. And then, actually, for the past 3.5, 4 years, I have immersed myself again in learning things about the world that was shut off to me for so long.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't watch a horror movie until I was in my 50s, like just things like that, even, tasted whiskey for the first time when I was 50.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Was it like the good stuff, or like, like
Oh,
something
I
like
doubt it, because it was at like an
this?
outdoor parties. What kind is that? What kind was that? I don't even.
That's the Macallan 12-year-old single malt scotch. It's very, very, it's double
Nice.
cask. It's double casked, and it's quite expensive. This is the small bottle. It's like I don't know. I don't even think it's 500 mils. It's 375 mils, and it came in the cash register just under $90.
Whoo!
Yeah.
Wow.
But when I buy scotch,
Yeah.
I buy the good stuff, because there's no sense in drinking the trash.
No.
It's
I'm pretty
it's like
fussy over
butter.
my booze, I must say.
Yeah.
I only like cheap red wine. I don't give me the expensive wine. My husband says it's the only thing I have cheap taste in is wine.
Well, at least you don't have to mortgage the house to buy a bottle, right?
No. No, you can't see me doing that. Yeah.
So what was the whiskey that you got to try?
I have no idea. I'm thinking I'm going to say it was probably Canadian Club, because it was like an outdoor summer party, when the town has like a municipal party
Sure.
every year. Yeah.
Sure,
Yeah.
and
So
CC's pretty standard up here.
oh, is that right? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I like Gibson's, and
Yeah,
what's
Gibson's.
the other one? See, I still don't know very much about most alcoholic drinks.
Mikey's
Gibson's
here.
and Wisers. That's what it is. I like Wisers.
Wisers? Oh, okay. Yeah, it's all right. Mikey said, just don't say Jack Daniels.
I've never had Jack Daniels.
It's there's people that swear by it. I've had the Honey Jack, which was all right, but
Okay.
yeah, no, I'm gonna stick to Scotch. I'm not really a bit. Well, Jack is bourbon, is it not?
I have no idea. I don't know.
Anyway. Yeah, Hellbound Hillbilly in the chat. I agree with you. Oban is one of my favorites. Of course, the only bottle they had available that day was about $200, so I didn't quite want to drop that much just to do a show with Dave Warnick. So,
Oh, I love Dave too. And we spent some time with him in Toronto. We were there, I guess, just before COVID hit, and we went to Greta Vosper's church, or Atheist church in Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which I thought was just the strangest thing. It was very interesting. It was we had been out of church and religion for a few years at the time, and so it was like our only experience with going back to church in that time. And yeah, it was different. It was different. It was like churchy, but not. There was no Jesus.
Right.
And there was lots of coffee.
Yeah. Well, yeah, of course. That doesn't. We don't care what version of religion or non-religion or whatever. There's always coffee at these things.
Yeah.
I mean, I tried my very first cup of coffee at synagogue.
Oh, of course it was. Right?
Of course, it was probably like that much coffee, that much milk, and about that much sugar. Right?
Oh, yeah.
But I was bouncing off the walls like a little ping pong ball, for crying out loud.
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
Coffee with no Jesus. That's based.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I got a couple of questions. When you found out that your son was gay, were you still a believer at the time, and how did that affect you as a believer?
Yeah. Yes, I had just become pastor. I think he came out within a month of me finally getting a church. I mean, like I said, I called it getting saved. I became a Christian back in 1996, and I worked in lots of different kinds of ministries. I did puppet shows at the beginning, which was so much fun. I would write the puppet shows, and the kids would act them out, and I loved it.
I have a puppet here.
Do you?
Yeah. It's given to me by my birth mom, actually. Yeah.
Okay. Listen, what kind of puppet was it look like?
His name is Dougal. And he's a little dragon, actually. So kind of put your head in the back and your hand in the back, and he's just like, "Hey, everybody!" So anything, right? So
flashbacks, Neil.
yeah.
We had, if I can remember now, I know there was like a little boy one and a little girl one, and there was a heart, and I think there had to have been a devil. I'm pretty sure there was Satan. There had to be Satan. Oh my. And then I got involved in a lot of women's ministries, and I got asked to speak at different venues, and I led Bible studies and prayer meetings, and I really worked hard to get to the place where I finally, as a woman especially, got recognized, for what I had done, and became a pastor.
It's harder for women to do that, right? Because they're actually the Bible says they're not supposed to. So, like, how do you square that off? Like, that's kind of
same every way that everybody squares everything else off in the Bible. It's also subjective. I just interpret it in a more liberal way, and the denomination we were in interpreted it in a more liberal way. That's not to say that people weren't upset, because people left the church when, they installed me. That's what it's called. Installed.
Like you're a component in a computer. We're just going to install you.
It's like the hardwood floors. I got installed, and So
don't say that, because then people are going to walk all over you, right?
Well, so that was in, I think, 2000, I started pastoring in 2011 as senior pastor, and then I got ordained in 2013.
Yeah.
I resigned in 2017, and in early 2018, I was an atheist. So that's the timeline. I feel like I worked towards something for decades, and then when I got it, it's like, oh,
now I don't want it.
This is all bullshit.
Yeah. Do you think it might have been the fact that you were studying a little more to get into the ministry side of things that sort of was the precursor to you finding your way out? Like, you sort of started seeing things that you didn't rub well with you, sort of thing, or didn't mesh well?
Maybe, but then on the other hand, I have thought about that, but on the other hand, I wonder too if it stopped me from looking at it more rationally, earlier, because most of the reading that I did was, of course, to teach the congregation. So I'd be writing sermons and Bible studies or whatever,
Sure.
and so I don't know. It just never. I guess it just gets to be. I don't want to say habit, but you just.
That's nuns, though.
You don't look at it. You don't. You don't look at it. You put those. If you have any doubts, for me anyway, I put them way back.
Sure.
The very basic doubts, was Jonah swallowed by a whale? All of those, the talking donkey and those kinds of things. It's like you put those ridiculous things behind you, or in the back of my mind. But yet, then I would delve into like really deep things, what I consider to be deep things in the Bible, and I would study typology and all that kind of stuff. And it wasn't until, like I said earlier, when I kind of got away from it, and I was able to look at other resources, other sources of information. I remember when the God delusion came out.
Mhm.
I thought he was literally had to be the Antichrist. And I would not even let that book in my house. Um, so it's like, it's not that I was afraid to look at other sources of information, but well, I guess on one hand we were, because we were taught that you could get deceived. And um, lots of the people from my old life, that's what they look at. That's how they see me now, as I got away from the Bible, I got away from the word, and I've gotten deceived, and now I'm backslidden. And it's really hard to explain. Well, if anybody asks, which nobody has, but I wish I could explain to them that I'm not backslidden. I just realized that I just no longer believed it anymore. And the more I look now, the more I'm convinced that there's probably no God.
Mhm.
Or if there is, there's literally no way for any of us to know what it is, how it is, if it's an it
Well,
or whatever,
right. Short of
Yeah.
it coming and announcing itself, there's no way
No.
there's no way anyone should believe that there's
Right.
something out there. And to say, well, I just have faith, that's just a cop out in my opinion, because faith doesn't get you to anything, at least not
Yeah.
reliably, right? So,
Yeah,
um,
exactly.
you faith all you want, right? But
Yeah.
that doesn't mean that there's actually something there.
Yeah. I've had a lot of conversations with theists over the last few years online. I find it strange that people around me, like in real life, haven't really asked much about what happened. Even people like from my former congregation, nobody has really asked. I think because there's like a fear instilled in Christians that an atheist is just an evil person who's going to lead you astray,
Yeah.
So for the most part, nobody is asked. But online, I've had a lot of conversations with people about faith, and I don't know how people, I don't know how people can't see that faith can lead them to practically anything, that it's useless.
Sure.
It's useless as a tool for finding out what's true, but people still cling to it. And
Yeah.
I had a conversation with someone just the other day, and they were saying, well, you have faith when you go out in your car and you drive on the road that
No, you
someone
don't.
is not going to veer off and hit your car. And I'm like, no, that's confidence. I have confidence. I've been driving since I was 17.
Right. Right.
And I also know that most people don't want to drive into you on purpose. So that's
Right.
confidence, not faith.
That's right.
But I think it makes them feel better to think that an atheist has some sort of
Requires it
faith.
somehow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you have confidence in your own driving, and you trust that the other drivers aren't going to want to plow into you. Right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but
But
accidents
I
still
think
happen.
people think that theists sometimes think that atheists have faith that God doesn't exist.
No, not at all.
And, I try to explain to people that no, that's just not the case.
That's right. We're just unconvinced by the claims.
Right.
Yeah. Nobody's brought sufficient enough evidence that we can actually put to the test in order for
Right.
us to say, okay, well, now I get it. Maybe there is something there, but that hasn't happened yet. Right. So
Right. Yeah.
until it does, I'm going to remain a non-believer because I just don't believe it.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. Another thing that used to really bother me is it doesn't bother me as much now, but people who say that I just wanted to sin. And it's so, you just left God because you wanted to sin. And when you look at the devastation of somebody who's trying to recover from religious trauma, to say that that they would willingly go through that just because they wanted to, drink whiskey or whatever, is so ridiculous. In those early days of my deconversion, I would have done anything for someone to convince me again that, that this God was real, so I could go back to what I knew,
Mhm.
the safety and the comfort of that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So you were saying earlier that you kind of started going down the rabbit hole of YouTube with all the atheist content creators and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
You said that Seth was one of the first ones of the creator side of one of the first ones that you found.
Yeah.
What other suggestions popped up to you? I'm always curious to find if people have very similar roots when they fall down that hole, because there's a lot that are put up, in the algorithms higher than others, right? So
Right.
I always kind of want to know the first handful of folks that they sort of stumble on.
I would say the Atheist Experience was probably the next one.
Right. Sure.
And I have, because I think the first thing that I watched was the, when they went down to Australia and did the Down Under. I can't remember what it was, the tour.
I know the one, Matt and Aaron and Seth, the Unholy Trinity tour.
Yeah. So I watched all of those, like glued to the TV.
Mm-hmm.
And then I discovered the Atheist Experience. I have not missed an episode since. And
I've yet to
probably have seen every back episode as well.
Right. Since the beginning days when they were on the little stage and stuff like that. Yeah.
When Matt had like a baby face.
Yeah. And hair. If he ever sees this, which I doubt, he's going to punch me next time I see him.
Yeah, I learned a lot from that program, I must say. And Anthony Magnabosco.
Oh yes.
Which like that, every time I watch, and I look forward to his episodes being released. And every time I watch it, I think to myself, I wonder what I would have said. How would I have answered those questions? Because nobody ever asked me. Nobody ever challenged me on. I was a pastor, and nobody ever challenged me on the God belief. Never had met an atheist to even ask me. I just always assumed I was a presuppositionalist, as most of us are right from birth.
Well, a little bit, because I don't think at birth you have any comprehension of it. But
no, I don't mean at birth. We're indoctrinated here. I mean, especially here in North America, we're indoctrinated right from the very beginning that there is a God, and it is the one that is in the Bible, and all the other ones are wrong. So,
of course they are.
Yeah,
of the hundreds of thousands that have been proposed by humankind.
Yeah,
this one's the right one, though.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, and I just believed it. Yeah.
Well, you had no reason not to. I mean, this was told to you by people you trusted, right? So.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and they believe it. You know, I've said this lots, that everybody I met while I was in church was a sincere believer. I don't think I met anybody who was just pretending to believe for whatever reason. Everyone was sincere. I met some jerks along the way. Not everybody was all peaches and cream, but everybody
jerks
was
in every
believers.
Demographic.
What? Yeah, exactly. Well, why wouldn't there be?
Exactly.
Why wouldn't there be? Like, there is no Holy Spirit making them any nicer of people than we are. So they're just as miserable.
Yep.
I shouldn't say that. I'm not miserable at all. I'm living the best friggin' life that I've ever lived. I'm having a blast. I am so grateful to, yes, it took me 20 something years to come out, but I'm so grateful that I finally did. I really am. The world is so much different. Like my morals are different. I connect with people in a different way. I see humans as just, like we're all the same. There's no us and them anymore.
That's right.
I'm less judgmental. I think I'm more caring, more sympathetic, more accepting.
Knocking stuff over.
Knocking stuff over. Yeah.
It's funny how that, and you're not the first to say something like that. People think, or not think, they realize that when they're free of these, I'm going to put it this way, restrictive beliefs, because really, when you think about it,
Yeah.
The belief in the Bible and all that stuff, and it's closed. There's no room for anything else after that.
That's right.
Unlike science, where we're always open to new ideas and stuff like that.
Right.
But you're already closed. So I think people kind of get a sense of almost like mental claustrophobia because they're trapped in a box that they can't get out of. And there might even be parts of them are like, hey, let's make this side a little wider, but you can't, right? Because you're trapped in that belief system. And once you pop that top of the box open, you're like, holy fuck, look at all the rest of this shit, right? Like,
it's true. Right? That is
like,
so true. And I like what you said, a mental
claustrophobia.
Yeah, that's a very good analogy.
You heard it here first, folks.
Trademark. Yeah, my husband said one time that it felt like a lot of brain space opened up. So that's exactly the same. And it's true. And even though I didn't, during the time, it didn't feel restrictive. We used to sing about being free all the time. We would clap our hands and jump around and talk about freedom. And so I thought I was free. And now, it's just a completely different life. It's like coming out of a bubble into an entire universe.
Yeah. I saw a meme once. I guess you can see everything's pretty much a meme these days. It shows an ocean, and there's a fishbowl in it. And inside the fishbowl is the little Christian believers or religious believers in there. And the other one's on the outside, like, look at this guy stuck in there. Like, get out of here, come into this side. There's so much more room and water, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of like where the whole thing kind of started with the whole claustrophobia of the mind thing that I had.
Yeah. So, that's good.
I was
a lot of mental gymnastics too.
Yes.
Yeah. You got to really, you got to be a real mental gymnast. To worship a God who says that, or who sends some bears to kill some children, you got to do some mental gymnastics. I love you, Jesus. Thank you for killing those children who made fun of somebody for being bald.
Dick. Anyway, so another thing that he did that just blew my mind. I mean, he's a deity. He could easily make the problem go away. Is fucking killing the fig tree because it wouldn't fruit out of seasons. Like you're a deity.
Strange,
just go. There you go. Now it's fruiting. There we go. You didn't have to kill the damn thing, you stupid ass. Like, what's wrong with you? Talk about anger management issues.
Right? Yeah.
Anyway. We all know it's all mythology. Well, some of us know it's all mythology. Just like all the other ones, guys. Just mythology.
Yeah.
A lot of my pagan friends are going, hey, shut up, Neil. And you know what? I got nothing on. I was a pagan myself, so they're good folks. They don't run around pushing their shit on everybody. So
yeah.
And I'll tell you what, I'll do a Viking raid with them any day of the week because I like mead.
Mead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm sure I'm a pretty big dude, so I'm sure they'd have me along. I can carry a sword and a shield. You never know we're going to come raid your village. Anyway.
There's not much raid in my village, Neil. There's only about 50 people who live here. I live in the woods pretty much.
Oh, did? See, now I'm jealous.
Oh, yeah. I live right on the Atlantic Ocean. No neighbors. I am almost an hour's drive from the nearest service, so it's a long ways to go for some mead.
Well, where I live now is pretty damn cool too. I live basically on what's the very tip of an island, sort of. It's Lulu Island, which contains Queensborough and Richmond and Hamilton, Hamilton, BC, folks, not Hamilton, Ontario. Which Hamilton's tiny here. It's just it's like a border town between Richmond and Queensborough in the west. And the Fraser River splits right where I am. So we get all the really cool stuff around here. So there's a little ferry that takes us over to the quay. And when they do the Canada Day fireworks, which they're not doing this year to honor the Indigenous folks, they do it right in my backyard. So I just go out there and I can check them out right there, which is pretty cool.
Nice.
But you know what? Catherine, I do think it's time to bring Mr. Mikey Famine in here with us.
Cool.
There he is.
Good.
Yes,
Hi.
who's back?
Good. I'm tired of talking. I'm sure everybody's tired of hearing me talk.
I messed my camera up. All right.
Nope.
All right,
That's why you're here, is to tell your story. So no one's tired of hearing you talk. Believe me, they're far more tired of hearing me jabber on about nonsense than they.
Well, I'll tell you a secret. I'll tell you a secret. When I did have a couple of puffs just before we went live. So
nice.
It's okay.
Nice.
No one heard you say that. The secret is safe. Just the
Don't
three of
tell
us.
anybody.
No.
Go back and garble that part, okay?
It's
legal here.
It's legal here. Hello, Canada. Yeah.
Exactly.
It's
Our
legal
government
here.
sells it to us like this, guys. See? There you go.
Yeah.
Canada government. There you go.
It's
Yeah.
almost like they're proud of their people being happy.
Right?
Well, someone's got to be.
It's almost like they want their citizens to have a good life.
Well, it's so friggin' cold up here. The government said we should at least give them some weed. I mean, what else are they going to do?
Let me just clear something up there, folks. It's
Chase
cold
news.
where she is. It's never cold
Right.
on the West Coast.
No.
They don't call us Hollywood North for nothing.
What's cold to you? What is cold?
Well,
Remember, they
This
speak
morning-
Fahrenheit.
okay, so this morning, listen, it's Celsius or Fahrenheit. This morning was 4 degrees. So
Oh,
that is really unusual,
that's winter
but
shit.
yeah, it is. I cooked a roast. I had some wool socks on. We lit the wood stove. It felt like I was going to wrap Christmas presents. It was
That's
just like,
39.
wow.
That's 39.
allowed to do Christmas.
I don't either. I've never liked Christmas. I like Christmas more now that I'm an atheist, actually.
Well, you know what? It's
Less pressure.
What are you gonna do? You get together with your family, your friends, and you have some drinks and some great food.
Exactly.
You can, if you want, throw some gifts at each other, little appreciation novelties or something, if you want.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Nothing wrong with that at all.
I mean,
No.
39 degrees Fahrenheit.
Is that what that is?
That's cold.
Yeah, forest
July.
39.
It's July, yeah. Normally it would be like this time of the year, it's probably somewhere between 20 and 24 Celsius. So I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit. I never got to know
I'm doing it.
never learned the conversion.
24 is probably around 80, I think, somewhere there.
68.
68.
Wow.
Wow.
20
That
and
still feels
68.
cold. That still
Yeah, but
sounds
24.
cold.
Oh, 24.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see. 24 is 75,
There you go. That was close.
which is cold summer for us.
Yeah. Now I've
Cool.
lived in Newfoundland, Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, Ontario, Alberta, and Saskatchewan. And
So just no BC.
Saskatchewan is by far the coldest. It's like ungodly cold in Saskatchewan. One time we had minus 67. It was colder than Siberia.
I got to do
Well,
minus 67.
It's been the opposite of cold here. It literally, in Fahrenheit, it literally got up to, I think at its peak for it where I am, it was about 112 degrees Fahrenheit.
I heard that on the news that it's someplace out there in BC went up to 120.
Yeah, Lillooet,
Yeah.
or sorry, Lytton and Osoyoos in the Okanagan. The Okanagan
Right.
always gets hit hard in the summertime.
Yeah.
Kamloops as well. As a matter of fact, Lytton, because of the heat,
Yes.
a big fire started and burned
90%
down
of the town.
90% of the town. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
scary.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was watching
they
that on the
evacuated
news.
So it's funny you guys say that because everybody all on the West Coast is saying it's so dry, it's so hot, it's so dry. It's
Mhm.
been raining here for 10 days. Like today's been like
Oh,
the
you-
first sunny day.
You got all
Where
our
are
weather.
you, Mikey? Where are you?
I'm in Chicago.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's probably
And-
warmer than Newfoundland.
A little bit. And if you see me like jerking around and scratching shit, because there's been so much rainfall, all of the insects are fleeing the ground because it's waterlogged and all the little tunnels are gone. My entire office has been taken over by ants. I don't have food in here. The only thing I'll have is like maybe like a soda can or something like that. There's never any food in here. They're everywhere. They're crawling across the monitor. They're going across. I've been sterilizing and sweeping for 48 hours. I can't get rid of them. And I can't figure out where they're coming from. They must be like just coming down from the ceiling like Mission Impossible or something like that. Because I don't know where they're coming from.
Well, imagine it be the hottest day of all the heat wave days that we had here. A truck decided to back into a pole down the road from me and knock out our power.
No AC.
No AC. Like I tried. Well, here in my room, I've got like fans and stuff that I hook up, and we've got a swamp cooler in the living room that you add water to, and it cools the place down. But the only thing that would work, because it was more like a brownout, because some of the low power draw lights work. I couldn't use the ice machine or the water in the fridge, but the light would come on in the fridge. So anything that had low voltage draw would work, but everything else, forget it. No TV, no oven, no nothing.
No internet?
No internet. Well, I have my phone, obviously, but if it got really bad, I got my power bank too, but that's 10,000 milliamps, so that'll last a little while, and usually does. But I basically sat out front of my building, having a few beers, kept cold in my cooler, and just chatting with people as they walk by.
Nice.
Well, they're walking around practically naked because it's like a bazillion degrees here at the time.
Neil was out there with his sunglasses. I'm like, hey, good morning. Good morning. How you doing?
Yeah, that's right. That was me.
My man.
made friends with the new people that moved into the building. So
this area is great.
Oh, it is. And I just discovered that a friend of mine from in my younger days, like in my 20s, late teens to mid 20s or so, his name's Rod. His name's Rod Bruno, and he. I'm not sure if you're familiar with these names, but he plays guitar or played guitar for Matthew Good, the Matthew Good Band, and Barney Bentall.
Okay, the Matthew Good Band does sound familiar.
Yep. Alabama Motel Room's probably one of his biggest songs.
Okay.
Anyway, so he played guitar for me. He's got his own band now called Trailer Hawk, and he just moved in down the road from me. And it's because he was on, I guess, the same time my roommate Leanne was on, and they're talking about, oh yeah, we just moved into on Salter Street in Port Royal. And she's like, shut up. I live in Port Royal. He's like, shut up. You live in Port Royal. Besides telling each other to shut up constantly, it was kind of funny. So I just met up with him and we sat out front just chatting for about an hour the other day. He's going, this is like one of the best neighborhoods I've ever lived in.
Nice.
Yeah, because it's very friendly around here.
Wait till I move in.
I like not having neighbors. We live really remote for a reason. I've never lived in a city except for about 6 months. We lived in Oshawa just before the pandemic hit, and I did not like it.
No.
Not a city girl?
No. There's only about 50 people in this town, and this is not even the smallest town I've ever lived in. I lived in a town in Saskatchewan that had 25 people, including like 5 that I brought.
Maybe it's a Canada thing. I don't think I've ever lived anywhere that had less than 75,000 people in it.
Yeah, I don't like the city. Don't like the city. I like being really far away. I don't like people just popping in. I like my privacy, I guess. So we moved.
What the hell is privacy?
We moved 50 kilometers into the woods.
Oh, okay. Well, hang on just a second. I'll text my buddies to stop heading over to your place to hand you the thanks for being on my show gift. No.
Nobody ever comes to my place and says they were just in the neighborhood. I can tell you that.
So we were just lost in the woods. And
that's true.
Maybe hikers. Do you get hikers that are like, there's a Bigfoot over here? May we find refuge in your house?
No Bigfoot sightings. No Bigfoot sightings. That would be cool, though.
That's
I would
West
love to
Coast
see
stuff.
a Bigfoot. Yeah, exactly.
Is it really? Is that
Yeah,
a?
it's Pacific Northwest is where most of the sightings have happened.
There's
Do you
no
believe
east.
it?
There's
Do you
no
believe
east.
in Bigfoot, Neil?
What's that?
You believe in Bigfoot?
No,
No.
no. I
I
mean,
wish I
Man,
want to.
they're big.
I want to see one. Every time I go out, I'm like, I'd like to see a great big Bigfoot just crash out of these, just
that'd
for
be
some
cool.
excitement. Just for some excitement, you
That'd
know.
be
I think-
terrifying.
Well, it depends, right? I mean, I look at it this way: if there's any possibility of something that would be a Bigfoot-esque creature, might be somehow the Gigantopithecus that survived.
Say that again after you had a few more beers.
Well, I've already had a few, but Gigantopithecus is the largest ape that they've ever known to exist,
Oh, okay.
and
They eat
but-
humans.
no, they don't eat humans. They were vegetarian.
They eat vegetarians. You heard them.
Something like that.
They eat clean meat.
Yeah. They eat-
And we do have bears. We I've
Oh, so
I've
do
been
we.
driving down the road and just, I guess you would see bears too out in BC, but
Oh yeah.
yeah,
They come in your backyard and dig through your garbage.
yeah, we got a lot of moose. I've only ever seen like one bear, I think, since I've lived here. Two actually, same day, oddly
Two.
enough.
Too many.
Too many. And well, I was in my car, so I wasn't too worried. But we do get to see a lot of whales, which I love. I squeal like a child every time I see a whale. I try to get videos of it, but it's mostly me squealing and the phone shaking.
We get the orcas off the coast here, and harbor porpoises and stuff like that,
Yeah.
and river otters.
Yeah, we get that in Chicago. We have whales. Yep. All kinds of whales. We got the Great
Orca.
Northern Chicago whale, the Chicago Bears whale. He's a whale. We don't have shit out here. We're just all cornfields. It's a big city, and then there's a bunch of cornfields.
I've only
far
ever
as-
driven through it. We didn't even stop.
In Chicago.
Have you, Neil? You've never been this far east, I don't suppose.
I've been to Nova Scotia.
That's just most people stop in Nova Scotia.
Well, it's where my Aunt Shelley lives, so we go out there to see her.
Oh, okay. What part?
And
What part?
now I have another reason. Well, once Paul's there, I have another reason to go see Shannon and Paul as well when I go out there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Nova Scotia is beautiful.
Oh, it is. But I've
Yeah,
never been to Newfoundland. No.
Yeah. It's like the thing is that the expense to get here is usually what stops people from coming. And
Yeah, I like my
just to
limbs.
cross
I'm
over on the
keep
ferry, I mean, you're looking at 8 hours and
Yeah.
a few $100s.
Yeah, you see, it's 2 hours to get to Vancouver Island on our ferries, but
Oh,
we need to send you guys the fast ferries that we have left.
yeah. I think it's usually around 7 or 8 hours. We usually get a night crossing and try to sleep through it. But yeah.
That's a good idea. That's good.
Yeah.
Just hook it up to one of them whales that are passing by. Just toss it with something in the water with a string attached to it, tied to the boat.
Whale skiing.
You'd be there in like 2 hours. Whales are immensely strong creatures. Immensely strong.
They are. I think what we're going to do now is we're going to say our goodbyes to the wonderful people that are watching. You guys always amaze me for hanging out here because I'm a pretty ridiculous human. So thanks, guys, for hanging out.
Can I ask a couple questions?
Oh, yeah. Of course.
What's left on your list of stuff to catch up with?
Me?
Because you didn't watch a horror movie, you didn't have like whiskey. So what's left on the list?
Oh, my.
I got to do that
goodness.
now.
That's a good question, Mikey.
That's a really good question. And I got to be really careful how I answer. Because I've tried a lot of stuff, Mikey. I've tried a lot of stuff.
So anything that you don't say, we will already assume that you've done it.
See, I figured that out as soon as you asked it. So now what do I say? I don't know. I've had 4 years of lots of fun and trying things. I don't think I have anything else. There's not even another horror movie that I can find to watch. I've consumed them all. I have tried all
God,
the whiskey.
even Leprechaun and Critters and all those crazy ass, horrible, cheesy 80s ones.
Mary Poppins.
Did-
That's a
I did
horror
watch
movie.
some of them. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know if I have any. I don't know. Think I have anything.
There's the new Critters. They just released a Critters movie.
No.
Is that the one?
Yes,
No,
they
that's not
did.
the one with the water
The
on
little
it.
tiny aliens with the huge mouths and teeth.
Oh, yeah. That is from the 80s.
Didn't they
Yeah.
Didn't they form a big ball and make a big
Yes. Yes. That was the worst part. They didn't do that in the first one. They did that later on.
It's just a big stupid ball of idiots rolling down the street. And everybody's like, what do I do? I don't know. I'll stand in the middle of the street, let it roll over me, and then there's just a skeleton standing where the guy was. It's like, this is the worst movie ever. Good times. Good times.
Good times. Good times. Speaking of good times, one of the things that I did try was, am I allowed to say I tried LSD?
Oh, sure, you can say that. I've done.
I tried LSD and I liked it.
See, I had 2 terrible trips. Same with mushrooms. I tried mushrooms, and all they did was make me sick. For some reason, I couldn't stomach them.
Yeah, mushrooms are hard for me as well, but I don't enjoy it. I don't enjoy the feeling of mushrooms. Mushrooms just make me curl up in a ball and not talk to anybody for hours. LSD, though, I am the life of the party.
Yeah, that I much rather, but I just, you know what? I stick to weed. That's it.
Yeah.
See,
my tolerance
my weed and my beer, and that's all I need.
I'm such a baby. Even if I have too much of an edible, I will just fucking have to just go shut down and lay on the couch.
You mean these?
Okay. All right. Okay. Listen, you're both lightweights. If I tell you how much edibles I took last week, you're going to call me a liar.
I can only do 10 milligrams at a time, or else I will start going into full on freak out mode.
He's new.
I'm very new.
Well, the Mister and I bought 1,000 milligram candy.
What?
And we cut that MF in half and ate it. So I had 500 milligrams.
Must have been low THC
bad?
level. It must have been, because 500 milligrams of the high THC level candies can actually make you have heart palpitations. So it must have been a lower level THC of.
No, it was the Moda candies. They're really strong, but I just have that high of tolerance.
Nah.
We grow our own. We have a license to grow. So my tolerance is way up there. When I first started having edibles, I could probably eat 20 milligrams, and now it's can't get enough. It's terrible.
No, I got a buddy that makes these, so these are 25 each, and they're the higher end ones. So
every time Neil shows that bag, I get high. That's my level of tolerance.
I love edibles. Edibles is my favorite way to consume weed, I think.
Yep, well, it's tastiest.
Yeah,
hard to beat that.
Yeah. I have a recipe for some really good brownies too. Really kick-ass brownies.
Nice. In preparation for the after party.
Yeah. I'm gonna go.
I can't even. I'm already stoned. Maybe that's what they were talking about, taking people into the village and stone them. Maybe there's a little syntax error. Take them to the village to get stoned. And then, I think
we were misinterpreting it all that time. We wasted. We could have been getting stoned.
Leviticus 4:20.
Leviticus 4:20.
That's a good one, Mikey.
I'm back, baby. I'm back.
Oh, we got to do that T-shirt, buddy.
Leviticus 4:20. Take them out.
With a little picture of a stoned rabbi underneath it or something. Anyway,
eyes all squint.
Elohim. Yeah.
Oh my God, that's sacrilegious.
Elohim, man. Elohim, man.
Elohim, baby. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, of course
God.
it's sacrilegious. We're atheists. We're supposed to do that.
Aha! In your face, religion.
All
I
right.
said we
Enough.
were going to have coast to coast. What was it? We were going to have coast to coast.
Coast to coast chaos. That's right.
That's right.
Kind of day. We managed to pull that off in the end. So.
Yeah.
All right. Let's wrap this up, guys, and get into an after party. I'm sure you can stick around for a little bit, right, Kath?
Yeah. I'm
Okay.
going to go roll joint and come back.
Oh, geez, I feel like I know you well enough that I just use half your name. Right, Kath?
I didn't even notice. Me?
See, we're already friends. So anytime I'm out on that side, I'm going to come bug you for some of that homegrown. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And,
Well, I would
brownies.
insist.
Okay, then.
Neil's gonna get.
You got to have a goodie bag when you go home from when you leave my place. Everybody gets a goodie bag.
Nice. Oh, yeah, okay. I'm looking forward to this.
Neil's gonna go over there and get fucking smoked the fuck out. She's gonna wreck Neil. She's gonna smoke him under the table. And Neil's gonna be like, please, no more. She's like, oh baby, them was hors d'oeuvres. Come on, bring in the weed infused ribs.
Weed infused ribs. Nice. And I'll just sit there and play with my new toy. I don't know if I showed you guys this, but you know those fidget spinners everyone was buying for a long time because they were kind of. I know, but no. This is, you'll see in a second. Okay, it's a UFO. It's a little UFO, and not only that, when you spin it, you can use this fancy little light on it, and it makes it glow. And it's got a little picture. It's got a little picture of an alien head on the bottom of it.
Oh yeah.
See that? And it glows. You get all the little glow in the dark thingies going on there.
That's cool.
And when you spin it, it looks trippy in the dark, man. I gotta tell you.
I want that.
I know. I'll send you the link. They're like $16. They're dirt cheap. But and it comes in this nice little pouch with it and everything. So.
Oh wow.
Which
right,
you guys totally use for all your flying saucers.
Exactly. That fits right in there quite nicely, actually. You just put it in there, wrap it up.
Probably waterproof, right? So you can stick something in there, put it in your pocket, won't have any damage come to it. Yep.
Is that a UFO in your pocket, or are you happy to see me? Anyway, so
yes.
Both.
Yes.
All right,
I'm gonna wrap this guys up because this is stuff we can do in the after party. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks first of all to all my wonderful, amazing, stupendous patrons. You guys really are the reason I am able to keep going. You guys keep me invested in keeping doing this show. So I hope you guys do enjoy the results of your what's the word?
The fruits of your labor.
Yeah, something like that. The your investment. I think that's what I'm looking. Because I hope that I entertain you guys, and I hope that the guests that I have also entertain you guys, and I hope that this clown right here also entertains you guys. Anyway, before you do that, just recently I was on your friendly neighborhood Atheist channel with Eric Murphy, and it was hosted by Vila Bianca, who you're probably all familiar with. And Eric and I had we did the hot seat challenge, where we had 3 topics we were going to debate, and we had to use these guys right here. I still got a little bit left from there, but I used most of them on each of the wing. But it's the hot sauce challenge.
Ooh.
Where you get all the different hot sauces in there, right? Like that.
Wow.
You start out with the weakest one and you work your way down to the hottest one, which is about 115 or 1,500,000 on the Scoville scale.
Oh.
That's the one that's called the spontaneous combustion. It's really not that bad.
It's not that bad. Yeah, right.
The one before it's called Ass Blaster. That was my favorite name.
As they used to call me back in college.
But I think my favorite ones was the first one, which is the bacon one, which is really, really mild. And the sriracha one was really good. And the roasted garlic one was a fucking amazing. But I have a very high tolerance for spicy food. So R and Raw and I are kind of like brothers in arms when it comes to that. And I've seen him eat shit that would make me pee my pants pretty much. Or, so yeah.
Isn't a jalapeno 3,000 Scoville?
No, a jalapeno. That jalapeno is the weakest of all of them, so they use that as the Scoville scale. So basically, pure capsaicin is, I think, something like 15 million on the Scoville scale, and the highest those ones go to is 1,500,000, and I've eaten 3 million at a place called Wings here, which they do called Bobby Wings. I think it was Sears 2 or 3, anyways, and they make you sign a waiver to eat those fucking things.
I wonder why.
Wow.
So I plowed through a dozen, and I said, "Dude, bring me another dozen." He's like, "What?" Yeah. Oh, and another ale. I like your ale. So, yeah. Anyway,
this is insane. So a bell pepper is 0, obviously. A jalapeno is 2,500 to 8,000.
right. Generally,
Your shit is, so it's like Carolina Reaper shit.
Yep. Oh, there's one in there. Well, I think third before the last is a Carolina Reaper, and they also have ghost peppers in there too, which are way up there, 1 million plus.
Wow.
What
They're
the
all good,
hell?
man. Yep, they're good. Pretty tasty too. Like they actually have flavor before the heat kicks in, which I dig.
Scotch bonnets and habanero. Oh, lordy,
Yep.
lordy.
Actually, Mark Caesar, who's in the chat right now, sent me some samples of his hot sauces, which I'm almost completely devoured. I can't, off the top of my head, I can't remember the name of the company, but they're really tasty. Like he had one that he sent me called Shit the Bed, which I thought was really, and that's not even the hot one. Right? There's the one up there, the Black Label one, which is really tasty. And I gave that one to some friends of mine. They go, "You can't taste anything." I go, "It's because you're an amateur. You don't know how to use this stuff." But anyway, yeah, they're very good. Thanks again for that, Mark. I very much enjoyed those.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
This is making my eyes water just looking at this.
Russ is like, "I like to have taste buds."
Yeah. What did your taste buds?
That's it. Thank you.
What did your taste buds do to you that you are punishing them in such a dramatic and
my taste buds grab like little mariachis going, la, 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 it's a party in my mouth. So yeah, I love spicy food.
Get a little clip.
All right, guys, we're gonna wrap this up the proper way now. First of all, thanks everyone for watching, and don't forget that Randolph and I
end sermons. I'm sorry. I'm going to end now. And I'm going to sum up. I'm sorry.
Anyways,
all right, really.
But that's usually yes. So Randolph and I are starting our own call-in show very soon called True North Talk. So head over to our channel and give us a sub if you haven't already. You can also find out more about the show at www.truenorthtalk.ca. And let us know what you think when we finally do go. Also, myself and a bunch of other really cool folks like Mr. Mikey down here, who has been one of the co-hosts of the new revamped and relaunched Nonprofits, which airs 3 p.m. between Talk Heathen and the Atheist Experience. So come and check it out. I'll be back recording episodes on the 14th of July. I've been taking quite a bit of time off because of my mom being in the hospital and stuff like that. So. And I went on my usual summer break before kicking in season 4, which, Catherine, thank you for being my first episode for this season.
Yay. I'll be your first, Neil.
I'm sorry, that ship sailed many, many moons ago. You could be like my... I don't have enough fingers and toes. Anyway, I don't know if I should be proud of that or embarrassed, but anywho, you whore. And
it is what it is.
It is what it is. Yeah, and the last Saturday of every month, actually, except for this month, because Andy had a birthday thing go on, so we're doing it on the 2nd, which is this coming Saturday. Oh yes, and hashtag coins. Everyone take a sip.
I'm scared to have liquid in here because the fucking ants just take everything. They're fucking crawling all over shit. There's 3 on my keyboard.
Get some ant bombs, dude. Get some ant bombs. Anyway, so yeah, we do that at 2 p.m. Pacific time. You can watch Andy and Seamus, who does the Free Thought Prophets, and Andy, who does his Laughing and Disbelief channel, which are great shows, by the way, so definitely check them out. We do Atheists Drinking Out Loud, and this week's guest was supposed to be last month, but Nicholas Suter decided to jump in because Bionic Dance couldn't. She had internet issues, and the internet people were coming over to check out her issues, and it's all been fixed up to the best that they could do. So she'll be joining us for this episode of Drinking Out Loud this coming Saturday. So I hope you guys can hang out for that as well. Once again, Catherine, it was a huge pleasure having you on, and it's good to know
for having me.
That I've got a good friend on the east side of this wonderful country.
There you go, coast to coast.
That's right, coast to coast PM with because there was art Bell Show, Coast to Coast AM. But anyway, that's a whole other thing. Oh yeah, link to the after party is in the description box, and I've also set these up now where they'll automatically send you over there. But anywho, yeah, nice. You can do that now. Before I shut this show off, I will be removing us from the chat so you can see the imagery that I have in the background because it is Canada Day today. But most of the Canadians that I know are not celebrating today. We are, right. Our hearts go out to the Indigenous people of Canada for the recent discoveries and the horrific treatment that they went through when the original colonizers came over here and fucked shit up, and that lasted through the set. Like shit like this happened in my lifetime, and I am embarrassed currently to be a Canadian. But we will listen to their stories and we will shake hands, and things will get better because they, as much as we, want that to improve. Anyways, guys, as I slowly trickle people out of the frame, you'll be able to see the artwork of our wonderful Indigenous communities all across Canada. And until next time, guys, like I always say, like the late, great Christopher Hitchens once said, extraordinary. I haven't done this in so long that I forgot the damn line. What the hell is it? That's right. It's called faith because it's not knowledge. Thank you, Mikey. All right, guys. I will slowly remove us now. Thanks again, Catherine. And we'll see everyone in the after party.